If you'd like to check out the deck lists used in this game, links to Piltover Archive will be in the pinned comment below. The battlefields for this game are Obelisk of Power for Jameson, who's playing Volleybare, Relentless Storm, and Fortified Position for Chris, who's playing Kaisa, Daughter of the Void. Chris is going to mulligan a Kaisa Survivor, then Jameson will mulligan a Primal Strength and a Kadrigan the Infernal. Chris will start the game by proudly exclaiming that he remembered to draw for turn on the first turn, and then he'll channel 3 thanks to Obelisk of Power. Then, after a short expose on how cracked he thinks Legion Rearguard is, he will pay 3 and recycle a Fury rune to accelerate the Legion Rearguard into his base. He will finish up his turn by moving the Legion Rearguard into Fortified Position to score his first point, and then he'll pass the turn to Jameson. Jameson, remembering the proper order of things, will channel 4 thanks to Obelisk of Power, and then he'll draw for turn. Next, he'll exhaust 2 runes to play Immobilize, channeling 1, and then, with nothing else to do, he'll pass the turn to the hand shuffling expert across from him. Chris will draw for turn, then he'll awaken, then he'll channel 2, and then he'll score a point for holding Fortified Position. And, just so we're clear, none of that was in the right order. Next, too fast for me to even properly commentate, Chris will play a Kaisa into his base exhausted, then pass the turn to Jameson. Jameson will channel 2, and then, to create some equilibrium, he will slowly draw for turn. Having taken lessons from Chris on how to order things, Jameson will play a Blazing Scorcher into his base exhausted, and then he'll exhaust 5 runes. This will trigger his Volleybare's legend ability, allowing him to exhaust it and channel 1. Next, he will have his Blazing Scorcher do a cool somersault, and then he will exhaust 2 runes, recycling a body rune to play a challenge, having his Blazing Scorcher challenge the Kaisa in Chris's base. And with no more cool parkour tricks, Jameson will pass the turn to Chris. Chris will score a point for holding Fortified Position, then he'll draw for turn, and channel 2. This is also the second turn in a row he has forgotten to awaken the Legion Rearguard at Fortified Position. He will get started by exhausting 2 runes to play a Watchful Sentry into his base exhausted, and he will follow that up by using his Kaisa's legend ability to generate a power to play a spell. He will then exhaust 2 runes and recycle 1 Fury rune to play a Falling Star, dealing 3 damage twice to the Blazing Scorcher, killing it. Then, with no more spells to sling, he'll pass the turn to Jameson. Jameson will channel 2, and then he'll draw for turn. He will get things started by exhausting 5 runes and recycling a body rune. Oh my god, Chris just remembered to awaken his Legion Rearguard, sorry. He's going to play the Misfortune into his base exhausted. Next, he will exhaust 3 runes to play First Mate into his base exhausted, readying his Misfortune. He will then travel back in time to use his Volleybare's legend ability on his Misfortune being played to channel 1. Back in the present timeline, he will move his Misfortune into the Fortified Position to start a showdown with Chris's Legion Rearguard. Misfortune's ability will ready the First Mate in Jameson's base. Chris will respond by exhausting 1 and recycling a Fury rune to play a Hextech Ray targeting the Misfortune. And thanks to Fortified Position, Legion Rearguard has 4 might, so both units will die. Then Jameson will follow that up by moving the First Mate into Fortified Position to score his first point. And with nothing else to do, he'll pass the turn to Chris. Chris will draw for turn, and then he'll channel 2. He will get started by moving the Watchful Sentry that he never awakened into Obelisk of Power to score a point. He will finish up his turn by exhausting 3 runes and using his Kaisa's legend ability to play a Void Seeker, killing the First Mate and allowing him to draw a card. With nothing else to do, he'll pass the turn to Jameson. Jameson will channel 2, and then he'll draw for turn. He will get things started by exhausting 2 runes to play a Confront, which will allow him to draw a card, and his units will enter ready this turn. He will follow that up by playing a Kadrigan the Infernal into his base readied. He will exhaust 9 runes and recycle 2 Fury runes. He will use his Volleybare's legend ability to channel 1. Then, Chris will give it a quick read and try to sneakily hand it back exhausted, but thankfully Jameson practiced earlier and will have it do a quick gainer back to ready. And, because he has 1 mighty unit, the Kadrigan the Infernal will allow him to draw a card. Finally, he will move the Kadrigan the Infernal into Obelisk of Power to slaughter Chris's Watchful Sentry. This will score Jameson a point, and the Sentry dying will have Chris draw a card. Chris will draw for turn, and then he'll quickly make sure he hasn't forgotten how to hand shuffle. Then, with a sigh of relief, he'll channel 2. He will get things started by exhausting 6 runes and recycling a Mind rune to play his Kaisa Evolutionary into base exhausted. And with nothing else to do, he'll pass the turn back to Jameson. Jameson will score a point for holding Obelisk of Power, then he'll channel 2, and he'll draw for turn. He will get started by exhausting 10 runes and recycling 2 Fury runes to play his chosen champion Volleybare into Obelisk of Power exhausted. But first, he juked me out and probably confused 12 people down in the comments by setting it down in his base. Next, he will recall his Kadrigan the Infernal to base to prepare to slam it into Fortified Position next turn. Then, he will exhaust 2 runes to play Pit Rookie into his base exhausted, using its effect to buff the Volleybare Furious. And with nothing else to do, he'll pass the turn to Chris. Chris will start his turn by passing through the phases in whichever order he sees fit. which did include drawing for turn, channeling 2, and awakening his Kaisa. Next, he will use his Kaisa's legend ability to generate a power to play a spell, then he will exhaust 2 runes and place Shakedown, targeting Kadrigrin the Infernal. But seemingly unconcerned for his dragon's safety, Jameson will elect to let the Kadrigrin take 6 damage instead of allowing Chris to draw 2 cards. After a lengthy discussion about optimal play lines and sequencing, Chris will exhaust 2 runes and recycle 2 Fury runes to play a Falling Star, targeting the Kadrigrin the Infernal and Pit Rookie, killing them both. He will follow that up by moving his Kaisa Evolutionary into fortified position to score another point. His Evolutionary would allow him to play a spell from his trash, but not wanting to direct any spells at the Deflect 2 Volibear, he opts not to use it. Then he will exhaust 3 runes and recycle a Fury rune to play an Immortal Phoenix into his base exhausted. Passing faster than I'm able to commentate, Jameson will channel 1 and he'll draw for turn. Now that I have a second to breathe, Jameson also scored a point for holding Obelisk of Power. He will get started by exhausting 2 runes to play Immobilize, allowing him to draw a card because he has no runes left in his rune deck to channel. What Jameson is about to do would not be a legal play, but it would be easily rectified by remembering to awaken his Volibear and retreat it to base before playing the next card, so we'll let it slide. He will get started on his illegal play by exhausting 6 runes and recycling 2 body runes to play Stormbringer. His Volibear will deal its might to all of the units at fortified position and then move there. This will allow him to conquer fortified position and score another point. And with nothing else to do, he'll pass the turn to Chris. Chris will draw for turn, and then he'll channel 2. He will get started by moving his Immortal Phoenix into Obelisk of Power to score a point, and Jameson will gesture menacingly at his legend. Next, Chris will exhaust 3 runes and recycle a Fury rune to play another Immortal Phoenix into his base exhausted. And with nothing else to do, he'll pass the turn to Jameson. Jameson will score a point for holding fortified position, then he will channel 2 and draw for turn. He will get started by exhausting 7 runes and recycling 2 body runes to play an Anivia into his base exhausted. This will trigger his Volibear's legend ability, allowing him to channel 1. He will then exhaust 3 runes, playing a First Mate into his base exhausted and readying his Anivia. Far too flying cold to be killed by a puny Phoenix, Anivia will move into Obelisk of Power for a showdown with the Immortal Phoenix. Its ability will trigger, dealing 3 damage to the Immortal Phoenix and killing it before the Phoenix can deal damage back. Then, with nothing else to do, Jameson will pass the turn to Chris. Chris will draw for turn, and then he'll channel 2. He will get started by using his Kaisa's legend ability to generate a power to spend on a spell. He will then exhaust 6 runes and recycle a Mind rune to place Singularity to deal 6 damage to Anivia and to the Volibear. But because the Volibear has Deflect 2, he will have to recycle 2 more runes. He will follow that up by exhausting 2 more runes and recycling 2 Fury runes to play Falling Star, dealing 3 damage to the Volibear and the Anivia, but once again, he'll have to recycle 2 extra runes because of the Volibear's Deflect 2. And, because a unit died from that spell, Chris will exhaust 1 rune and recycle a Fury rune to bring his Phoenix back from the trash exhausted in his base. Then, he will move his Phoenix into fortified position to fight the Volibear. Both units will die, but this will stop Jameson from winning the game on his next turn, and then, with a single rune left to his name, Chris will pass the turn to Jameson. Jameson will channel 1, and then he'll draw for turn. He will get started by moving his First Mate into fortified position, conquering it, but because he can't win the game off that conquer, he will draw a card instead of scoring a point. He will then exhaust 5 to play a Doomdrake into fortified position, then he will voice some great fears that Chris might play Unchecked Power, to which Chris responds he only has 1 rune, and then he will follow that up by exhausting 2 runes to play Pit Rookie into fortified position using its ability to buff the Doomdrake. Then, just for the formality of playing it out, Jameson will pass the turn to Chris. Chris will draw for turn, and then he'll channel 2. He'll get started by exhausting all 3 of his runes and use his Kaisa's legend ability to use Voidseeker to kill the First Mate and allow himself to draw a card. Then, he'll move the Immortal Phoenix into Obelisk of Power to give the illusion of a close game, and, with nothing to stop Jameson from winning the game at the start of his next turn, he will pass the turn to Jameson, who will win on his hold. That's all for now. Hope you enjoyed.